Hey,
Hi.
we
Hey.
back. Hey,
After
Steven, I
some
actually I
time,
actually liked the StreamYard music better
the new
from
one.
earlier.
Exactly. It was more like these you wanna fall asleep music kind of style.
Mm,
Um, but hey, how are you doing? How are you holding up? It's quite some weeks. It's quite some weeks.
yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, it was we there was MVP summit, and then the other excuses were too much work to be done. Have a busy project, a very interesting project as well. But yeah, so. But yeah, it's time to do some bUnit, man. It's we can't keep a good open source project down.
Exactly.
Well,
V2 is almost in front of our doorsteps. We told the last time.
yes, and it will not go commercial. And
Oh.
I just got a text from Scott Saber. I hinted on the various socials that we might actually have him on later, but he just said that his voice is in no good shape to chat, so we won't see him. So I'm
Maybe he
sorry
can
for
do
teasing you,
how's it called?
folks.
Mime. He can mime something. That would be
Oh,
also interesting.
well, that we can probably find an AI, so we just have a photo of him, and we can have
Oh
somebody
yeah.
else speak for him, right? I think that might be an option as well. Oh well, no.
I like
So
that.
yeah, what
Yeah.
what about you? You've been you didn't go to the MVP summit, but I guess you attended
No.
offline or online. I guess not offline,
Zero
online.
sessions.
Zero session scene.
Yeah, I to be honest, I was maybe a bit not anchored or primed. I expected a lot of AI sessions and I'm not really interested in them, so that's why I
Oh,
didn't go to any. On
there
top,
were definitely a bunch of AI.
yeah, exactly. On top, it is somewhere in not in the middle of the night, but it's fairly late for me to
Yeah,
join them.
yeah.
And
Oh,
I
I agree.
valued my own time more than staying awake until I don't know 1 or 2 o'clock, my local time.
I, I,
So
I
I
do
did,
recommend going if you can, but it's
yeah,
it's a thing. It's expensive to travel to Seattle. It's expensive to stay there, and you take if you and you're working for yourself, so it's a 1 week where you're not invoicing customers, plus jet lag.
true.
So I get it, I get it. But
It's a
but
business
yeah,
expense. That's good for the taxes.
yeah, sure, yeah. So maybe you can compensate. Can you also expense all the hours you didn't invoice? Put them
Uh,
on the expenses.
as
But yeah,
charity,
no,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Charity
I
to
guess.
myself.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I.
but
It's fine. Don't get me wrong.
it is a good experience though. Like you get to hang out with a lot of both Microsoft people, but also other MVPs, and it's sort of for me, you yourself is also a speaker at various conferences. It's a bit like going to a conference where you don't have a session to give at some point, so you can just go all in, all 5 6 days. You are there 7 days.
True.
So
True that.
anyway, anyway, that's not the topic, I guess.
No, we.
I've
I
seen,
want to talk
Steven, that
about.
you've been. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, exactly. I just wanted to say like I don't know what I wanted to say. I'm.
Uh, so
It's
I've seen
Friday.
you've been doing the bUnit community a good service for the last few weeks, answering questions, handling issues, filling out PRs, and all of that. Do you want to take us through
Yes.
what's happened since the last time we were together?
Let me that we can do this. So I have to share my screen and I have to select yes. I'm just
Hmm.
getting like a nice message from Google Chrome. Google Chrome has access to your screen and system 465 times in the past 30 days. Okay, I'm not sure what I should make with this information, but thank you.
I guess it's macOS that's warning you that
Yeah,
somebody might be
exactly.
looking over your shoulder.
Oh, okay. Let
Let,
me.
let's
Oh,
let's give us a bit more space to work with.
oh
Nope,
yeah.
that's too much.
Ooh,
Here we go.
perfect.
Maybe. Oh no, where do we want to be? Shh. Ah, too many options, man. Let's see. No, no, no.
Oh,
I swear to God. I think. Have you changed the
I like this
buttons?
one.
Oh,
No,
no. I want no. Oh no, too much. Okay, sure. Let's
it
go
is
with that
good.
one. Yeah.
Good.
Up.
Yes. So I guess the last stream is 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. I'm not sure. Quite some time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something along those lines.
Let's go. I if you know something already, so this one, the Sync Fusion stuff, I guess that was after the last stream. Maybe we can come to that
Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody
maybe
wanted
or
us
not.
to provide him paid support. Well,
Yeah,
which is paid for
for a
by
product we
So
don't
yeah.
do. Anyhow,
So
let's
yeah.
come with something which is a bit more useful. Let me think. Ah, yeah. Here we had just someone who had a form action and what he wanted to achieve in his text. So here is the authorized view. That's not so
Hmm.
important here. The most important bit we have to concentrate. He has a form. Short question: is this big enough? I can also go. Maybe this is better, huh?
Yeah. Actually, so you can do one other thing for me. Your camera is positioned such that you are sitting in the one side of the sphere, and the microphone is sitting. So if you just move the camera a bit, so we don't have the microphone, but we have your pretty face instead. Yeah, there we go.
Huh. I'm melting. I'm getting redder by the second. Okay. We have a form. Also, just the important bit is that it's a post submit form. That's all. And you can see authentication
Mm.
logout is the target. And the user, this is a lot of jumba wamba we don't really need. The interesting bit is down here. So he gets the form, he
Mm.
presses, he thought the submit
He-
button, and what he
yes,
wanted to assert is that we have a navigation.
that's the same thing as the thing from the Aspire guy. I forgot his name again. He basically wanted to see the change in the UI.
Ah,
URI.
yeah, James Newton soft
Yes,
King something.
Newtonsoft. Yeah,
I
Jason
wanted
Newtonsoft King
so
James.
yeah, I was short for a second. I wanted to say Jimmy Neutron, but it is something completely else. And I'm sorry if those. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyhow, so I'm not sure if even so. I grew Jimmy Neutron is this anyway. Does it pop up in your head what that is? There was a
No,
comic in the 90s and early 2000s. That's that.
it sounds like a '90s superhero kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay. So you can see here, first things first, he wanted to press the on submit button and he was like,
Yep.
oh yeah,
But there's
why is it exactly there is no on submit? The
because
simple
there's no
answer,
add on submit. Yeah.
exactly. So basically, the whole point he's new to this whole end-to-end unit testing in Blazor. So he wrote here long or not long, very short thingy that he's more of a backend developer guy, that he's new to the world of basically unit testing in a front-end application. So I
Mm.
also wrote him like when you call on submit or something with this suffix, it's just we are invoking that function. It's not like we
Mhm.
have a real browser. It's not we spinning up something which clicks and behaves like a real browser. So that was sorted out. I guess he was quite happy that
Yeah.
he
You
does not have to
you
test that.
no, you did good. Actually, if you scroll up a bit though, look at the example again. So I guess he's using just static server-side rendered Blazor, right? In this particular case, it seems like it would all work in static server-side rendered. He could have
Yes, it would.
actually, he could have. Well, okay, so we don't actually have any. Um, he doesn't have a. So he's basically testing Microsoft's logout handler. He's not
Yes.
testing his own component.
I
Yeah.
mean, not
Okay.
even
Yeah.
Microsoft. This is a browser feature we are testing. Both, or you test
Well.
the
Well.
action dispatch,
So
which is a
that.
browser
Yeah.
feature, and then we have also the lockout, which is the Blazor feature.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's no need to test stuff that isn't yours. Yeah. All right.
Exactly. So that's sorted out basically.
Yeah.
Perfect. Then there was the other one, the Sync Fusion. Yes, we cannot provide support. We
No.
can, but then please pay us big time. We
Yeah. Yeah.
take a lot of various payments if you want. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. Okay, then
Mostly hugs and kisses.
yes, but also real money.
Oh yeah. Also things that. Well, hugs and kisses can result in money, but that's probably
Exactly.
not.
So
Yeah.
let's let's start with
It's Friday. It's
It's
Friday.
Friday. Let's
Yeah.
start with what's here. That's the older one with the closed stuff we have. Ooh. Yeah, the person in question got a null reference exception, and I have to check what they did. That's 3 weeks ago. I cannot even remember anymore. Says the component has a large complicated reservoir. I think blah blah blah. So his problem was greeting is basically null, and he wanted to have a way of seeing that this line is throwing the exception. Now, for folks who may not know,
Oh
Blazor
yeah.
is just it's just a markup, and your C# compiler only to an extent understands Razor. There's a thing called source code generator, and that source code generator just takes your Razor code and just writes plain old C# code.
Yeah. So the thing is actually that if you look at so you can go just to extend on what you're saying there, for people who are curious, you can go and see the generated file that is like the Razor file is converted, and you can actually you have it down there, and you can see there's line pragmas there as well that shows what lines the things are coming from. So so when you have an exception that is getting thrown, in theory, we could go in to that source file, or rather we could use, I think we can use reflection to actually read the source, the C# file, and we can find the line pragmas, and then we can translate that into, so my point is that's something that the Blazor compiler or the Blazor runtime should be doing. Like the Blazor runtime is throwing that exception. So I would expect the C# compiler to actually read the pragmas and say, hey, okay, this is referring to a line in a different file. Why don't I show that instead of showing the problem file where it is? Because it originated, I guess, from his file.
Yeah.
Originally.
I also thought at least that you have a line number here, so you could go into the translated file and check it out yourself, but I'm not sure if this is a release or debug build, so it might be a release build, that's why it's omitted, but I do not know. I expected the line number even here, but there is none.
I don't think so. We can try it out locally, but I don't think it does it because it has the it has the lines pragmas in it. So it simply just says I don't know where this is, right?
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. So yeah.
Yeah. But it's very likely not something we gonna pick up.
No, it's closed won't fix kind of a thing.
Yeah, maybe I did just close it, I guess. Or did I close it?
Yeah, you closed as completed. Well, he closed it as completed. Oh, that's fine.
Oh. I created even a request. Do you see? So that's good. If there's something coming out, then the Razor team picks it up. Nice.
Yeah. It would be something I would probably fall to maybe the Razor team, maybe the Razor compiler team. So they're doing lots of work there, trying to fix a bunch of the issues that are with the Razor compiler. Mostly being that it's been sort of a problem child that's been moved around between various teams that used the Razor syntax in their project, and so it's a bit of a mess. But they are slowly but surely fixing it. So I have high hopes.
So then we have this one. Basically, we have a person who's creating a component. I guess it's just for the repro for us. So it's always very lovely if you have a reproduction for us, which we almost either copy paste or you just even have a Git repo for us. That would be the best. Because then we can just do our magic. Anyhow,
Git repo you can check out is always good.
Yeah, please. I mean, it's all better than nothing, but my second least favorite thing are images, because it's really hard to work with them. You have to type everything. It's a lot of time.
Images is GitHub has this feature where you can actually copy paste code in and have it syntax highlighted. Please do that. Exactly. No images, man.
Exactly.
That's just wasting people's time.
What he did is he has basically, this code is all the same. So he has a very simple component. He overrides here nothing, component without set parameters, and then he has two options where he overrides the set parameters async and with an await task delay. And he was wondering, so what he does is he has an expected string, expected markup, which is basically literally that h1 element and the header text, and only one out of those three tests are passing. And that's the one which does not override the set parameters async. And basically, he has two misconceptions here. And the first one is, let's go here. The first one is, if we check this code, it has a task delay. So if you would do something and directly assert, it's very likely that your HTML or your markup doesn't look like you expect it to look because there's a delay. So you could use something like
it takes 1 second before it's good.
Exactly. Use the wait for helpers. So would this help in his case? No, absolutely not. If you override set parameters async, this is a bit of a special one because here there is a lot of magic involved. So you might know that there are some other lifecycle method, like on initialized async, on after render async, or on parameter set async. And if you ever check the base implementation in component base, they do absolutely nothing. They basically return task from result. So it's like a no op. Not like from an abstract point of view, it's a no op. But set parameters async does something. And one of the important bits it does is it calls state has changed. It marks that thing as dirty for the renderer. So if you override this to any extent without calling the base set parameter async, you're basically telling Razor there's nothing to do right now.
Yep.
So
yeah, that effectively means that you have a single render cycle, and that's it.
Yes. So he did this, and as you can see, there is a second test green, because now he calls the base one. But now the first test here, well, sorry, I'm scrolling a lot. I'm very, very sorry. So he fixed this one with the base.setParameters async. And this one still fails. I guess he also has the code somewhere here. Let me check. Yeah, here. You can see he calls await base.parameters async afterwards.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
And it's apparently the Blazor runtime throws an exception because there is an expiration date or something. I didn't know that.
Well, no. So I think what happens is the parameter view, it's a struct or read-only ref struct, I think, or struct at least, and it's tied to the render cycle, right? So if you have, so you want to call the base first and pass in, or you want to pass in parameter view.empty if you already handled the parameters at the top level, like at your level. So yeah, because otherwise, and it kind of makes sense, like if you have a render cycle where some part of the componentry react to the parameters being set, but then there's like we have in this case, a task delay or some other thing that sort of interrupts that, and there's a render cycle, but then you pass in old parameters that weren't, valid, that isn't valid anymore in a later render cycle. You might have inconsistent state in between levels in the render tree. So yeah, as I understand, parameters are only valid for a single render of the render tree.
Makes sense. Yeah, we discussed a few more things in the discussion, but he sorted that out for himself. So nothing for us to do.
Yeah.
So this was all the things which are, I guess, done, if you want to say so. And now we have a few open things. So we have those three. This is still input needed. There was no feedback until now. We discussed it the last time. So here a small one. Oh, god damn it. I thought I answered. I did not answer. Okay. So he was saying like, hey, you're using English Sharp CSS. This is still in beta. That's a bit problematic if you're sitting behind a corporate proxy where you're not allowed to have non-stable versions. And I do get this. I know that Florian Rappel, he himself basically considers this stable.
Yeah, the problem is so his version scheme is that it's not, he doesn't give it a stable tag until it's feature complete in terms of the HTML5 spec. But let's see if there is a later version. English Sharp.
There's 147, I guess. There's one more version. So my answer would be.
Oh, there's now a beta 151.
151 even, but it doesn't help in this case.
No, the same problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we could have it as a private dependency instead. So
that users have, but then users themselves always have to have the. I'm not sure if this is a good idea. Then we might.
Well, so I guess the answer to Sierra there is that he can always force downgrade.
Nah, but the problem, I also thought about like direct dependencies override transient dependencies, but his problem is a bit different in the sense of he will not get bUnit.web inside the corporate NuGet just because of this. So it even wouldn't help him.
Yeah, and we can't really. So
Yeah,
the only
it's
thing we could do is we could simply make a copy of AngularSharp CSS source code, like I have a submodule, and simply release it with it.
yes, and I don't want to do that.
Well, if it's a
It's
sub module, then it's like, so we don't release the package, we just have the source files.
yes, and yeah, it's minor not inconsistencies, minor complexity on top because also
Yeah.
submodules you have to fetch and pull and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that's not the idea behind
Yeah.
packages.
No, I understand
And
and I agree, and but it's also a problem, and we can't really force Florian to remove the better version from it. So yeah, but at least,
yeah,
and it's moving slow. Like it's been, he started doing alpha versions back in 2023, and shit, we know how it is with new versions
yeah,
of open
exactly.
source and all that.
He
There's
plans
just so
since
much.
2024 to have a stable release. And
Yeah.
I checked the milestone, there is not much missing. That doesn't mean it comes out, next month. But that
No.
means for me, the inconvenience we would have, I feel it outweighs the benefits. So I'm I would say like I'm sorry, but not really because I wouldn't do it that way. So
No.
either there is a way
So
for that
what
person.
what we can do is we can suggest that what he does is that he goes and simply forks bUnit, or just have the source
Exactly.
code for bUnit. Like that would be my go-to. Or download the DLLs himself, right? But yeah,
Older version of Angle Sharp.
like we kind of need the latest version because there's other things within breaks if we don't have that. Interesting thing, I'm just looking at our dependency tree here. We don't actually have a dependency on AngularSharp CSS in .NET 5 and Net Standard 2.1 of bUnit. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
but latest with the newer version, when we go
Yeah.
bUnit 2, then yeah.
So I'm wondering why do we need the AngularSharp CSS in 8 and 7 and 6 when we don't need it in 5 and 2.1?
That is I can show you later. We have another bug related. No, not bug. I will show you.
Yeah, well, it's a feature until it's a bug. Oh, well, works as intended.
For you.
I wouldn't say seems very likely. I would maybe say seems likely, or we hope. It doesn't like your comma.
I don't. Good, then yeah, you get a second one. Yeah, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
my choices.
I would. We like if it's corporate IT, we could have him suggest that he just talks and get an exemption in the whatever the local internal repo. Yeah, I guess the problem is that AngularSharp diffing depends on the latest versions of AngularSharp. So the problem is really that AngularSharp itself, if we want to use a newer 1.1 version of that, that depends on AngularSharp CSS, the better versions. So we are stuck with the better versions of CSS because we want to use the newer versions of AngularSharp. So
Oh yeah, yes.
you can sum that up. It's not really up to us, honestly. He should go and complain to Florian, but yeah, if he wants, or probably not complain, but just find a way to support or help Florian get AngularSharp CSS over the finish line. Because I know Florian is not just sitting on his hand and not doing anything. He's super busy, so it's not a it's not on
AngularSharp alone, or is our diffing is depending on that, or?
so we use diffing. That's the whole markup matches bits, right? They are in AngularSharp diffing. That's the library I built that builds on top of AngularSharp. And AngularSharp diffing needs AngularSharp. Plus, I actually think we need AngularSharp as well, the newer versions. There's some tooling in there that we are leveraging now, like for parsing DOM. Yeah. And that and AngularSharp. So AngularSharp CSS. Well, AngularSharp itself, it's only compatible with. There's some conflicts there around AngularSharp and AngularSharp CSS, the older version. You can't use them together.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Now you should ask ChatGPT to shorten it by 5 lines or whatever.
Yeah.
No. You don't need to support. Don't need to suggest that. I think it's like, well, we can. We can just say yeah. You could say if you have time. I'm sure Florian will appreciate any help he can. Time or other things.
Chips, gummy bears.
Time or
time.
Yeah, if you yeah, probably appreciate any help he can get.
Yeah, let's. You're fair with that?
Yeah. Not planned. Yeah.
Good.
That's fine. Yeah, something along those lines. You know, it's your name, so you get the blame.
That's fair for me. Okay, then we have a small bug with with AngularSharp, by the way. So the user has a style which has a relative unit. You can see it here, 5%. And he calls get inner text, which throws an error because, I mean, fair enough.
There's no browser.
The AngularSharp, exactly. The AngularSharp renderer doesn't have a relative unit or an absolute unit. It can calculate the relative unit towards 2. So from what should it take 5%? The fix is super straightforward and simple for us. The first thing I did is I went to the, what was it here? Oh yeah. I went to the official documentation and then I read the README. That's absolutely me, and Flora was amazing not to point it out that I'm a stupid idiot. I pointed it out to myself. So the fix is amazingly simple. Let me go in here. Even you can see it. I have it open. The fix is basically here. I guess this one is not even needed. So we would need those 3 properties. Then everything is working. The problem is that I would love to have this somewhat configurable, because I feel like if someone, probably it doesn't make sense, but my way of thinking is that we may or may not break current behavior. So
yes, I'm wondering if there's anything that actually breaks by doing that. So I don't.
It's already broken.
I would. So yes, it's a change in behavior, but the change is going from throwing an exception to returning something. So in theory, we could have users that are depending on a specific behavior. I would say this is pretty benign. And if there's going to be one of 2 users that are actually expecting to see an exception in that test and they don't anymore,
that's fine.
I would probably default to a higher value than that. Like go to a default display size, like at least maybe
or even 4K.
Like maybe I don't know. 1080p is probably fine. What
Yeah,
is
exactly. So
1900 by? You mean 19? Yeah.
my concern was not the defaults we're setting, but we also don't give any option of overriding. So there's a lot of implicit behavior here, which I would love to get out. And one of the ways
Well,
of doing this, we could, in theory, we have
yeah.
the test context. We could either have like builder.configure or something, or the user could just, register, how is it called? iRender device. Because this, I don't know. That's why I tagged it as needs design, because for me, this one would be
Okay.
straightforward, but how do
Yeah.
we want to fix it sustainable for users to discover?
Yeah. So I'm actually been thinking about that recently. Like, how do we deal with configuration of various defaults that we have? And we could, because we have the services collection, right? That we're using, we could just
Yeah.
lean into the whole options pattern in .NET. I'm not saying for V1, but maybe for V2. So where people can basically do services dot
I'm sorry, I didn't zoom, by the way.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Very
I was about to
sorry.
say. Yeah, so we could do services dot configure, and then whatever option you want to configure, then you get sort of a lambda where you can add
Yeah.
your customizations. So instead of having, because the alternative is to add a whole bunch of properties or other things to bUnit context, right, or to test context, and that quickly becomes messy, right? So, but I
Or,
do like, yeah, but I do like for V1, I do like the option right there that you said we can have default render device added to the services collection. People can get it out if they want to. Like you can get required service or get service and pull it out to see what it is set at. But they can also just provide their own if they want.
what I thought about is, do we have the test context? I just make it now a bit simplistic here, if this is fine for you, like foo equals, we have the test context has the services, we have get service not required, I render device, and only if this is not set, we create our own.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
what I
meant.
mean. Yeah.
The
But
question
I
is, like,
think
how
that's a good.
discoverable is that?
Well, it's not, but that's okay. So now but the thing is, we can write a little bit of docs around that, and we can say, hey, this is an option you can go for, and so for the 1.1% or less, that actually is depending on there not being a rendered device, they can go in and override, or rather, they can go in and set a different default than what they want, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good solution.
Ooh. Damn it.
Well,
Markup matches. Ooh, that would be interesting to have the same, obviously.
well, markup matches.
Well, it shouldn't be a problem, or?
Well,
be a
so yeah, yes and no. So markup matches will new up one if it's just getting raw HTML in and it's not have it doesn't have access to, existing test context base and other things. Honestly, I think, Steven, to keep it simple for now, I like where your head is with this, but I think let's just set a default and see if somebody complains. Because I have a very hard time understanding, like imagining somebody would be
That's fair.
leaning on the default, which is something blowing up. Now, what we could do is we can go and say like font size and viewport with like that's like what is the default in a browser, right? Default like that might. Does AngelSharp come with something that emulates the normal behavior of a standard, Chrome or whatever? Is there some built-in, there's like a static.
You see that it has even. I guess this is the problem. We need the device height and the device width for this specific case, and unfortunately also the font size. But I guess the font size is default to 16 pixels. But we need those two guys. That is.
Sure. Let's go with that then.
5% of something has to be the viewport, because what else should be the relative size?
Exactly.
But yeah, then let's take that. I am absolutely fine with that.
Well,
Let me-
okay. So did you ask in the issue if the person wanted to control the viewport size?
No.
So I would tag him and say, do you like for him to be able to have something like does like 5%, like I'm also could also ask, like, is this a test that you want to do anyway? Like why are we, because
Well, I guess it doesn't even matter because
what's
even if he
what's it
doesn't
like?
wanna,
Yeah, I'm
he doesn't
understanding what his
test.
motivation is for test that, because it's like
So
he
he
can.
just
So
the
my
problem is
point is, okay, so
it
quickly.
doesn't matter what he's testing right now because this is a function that should work independent if this test is valid or not. Get inner text on a
Well,
component
yes,
should
no,
work.
no. So the thing with even okay, yeah, get inner text should work. Oh, you're right. Yeah, okay.
And this is the
Ah, my
one
bad. Yeah.
failing. So I'm with
Oh,
you. It
interesting.
might make no sense to
Ah,
assert the
sorry.
value.
I read it as like he was trying to see how much white space is taken up on the screen. No, but get inner text
No.
should definitely work. I would probably yeah. So do know. Yeah, get inner text should definitely work. Yeah, because that's just pulling out text content, right? So no. Yeah. Not font size. You mean?
Yeah, well, it's depending on that as well. It's right now 16.
Yeah.
It's by default set, that's why I don't put it in. But if you set this to 0, this also fails. Just so that's just for completion.
Yeah. Well, indirectly, I guess they can override, because they can override the.
Nope. they cannot.
No,
That's a
no,
new.
they can't. Yeah. But I meant that maybe being an HTML parser could be replaced by. I can't remember if we have behind an interface.
Oh, we have unresolved. Oh, we should make a release then on V1 soon.
Yeah, we can do that after.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
later.
Okay, let me maybe do this off stream. But just that we know, that's the whole. I obviously wrote a test for that, and that's all. And I wrote a bit more. That's some me doing some weird crazy shit. Let's ignore the
trying things
crazy
out.
shit I'm doing here. Let's ignore the crazy shit. Yes, exactly. But at the end, it's this component.
Minimal repro. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a different bug on the same branch because I just wanted to play around.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Again, I will do this after stream, and we have to push this then also to V2, and then V2 we can make ourselves some other thoughts. Then we had another bug where I have to investigate what is really the issue. So here I have a repro. Let's open this one because it's easy. Where is the left side here?
You can click on the there's a like up next to where it says master. That's small that way.
You're good. Okay, so
I know. I'm all of those things.
nice. So
Yeah. Okay. We're less in the way over here. Yeah.
we have basically a component that just have some markup. It's again just a repro. It doesn't have to be useful. And then you have a subcomponent which basically inherits from that.
Yeah.
And that's just make an H3. So obviously you cannot inherit markup. You can just inherit logic. Sure. In that way, it is presented here. But I guess it doesn't matter because I just put it on the GitHub.
Yeah.
So then he has some tests where he says like, hey, find working component. So the working component is the
base component.
Oh yeah, the base class, exactly. Yeah, not abstract base class, but it's the base class, and subcomponent. Yeah, obviously is the subcomponent. I could have just continued reading. So those tests will not fail, this test will not fail, this test will not fail. So basically we call find components on the derived class first and then we go to the base class, and now it fails. If you go first on the base class and then look for the subclass, it throws an exception that it cannot exactly, or was it this way? After this pipe we'll be able to cast to the derived class. Yeah, it tries some weird stuff. It's better described in the ticket itself, if I can find it.
Yeah, well, okay, so that's covariance, right? That's a problem.
Should this be automatically fixed with v2? Because we use covariance there, and basically treat a lot of things like out I component and then just make a cast.
No, I think so. What's the exception? Unable to cast. Unable to cast of type bUnit. Oh, not so fast, not so fast. Back. Yeah. So we're trying to cast a rendered component of a bUnit working component, and then to type subcomponent. And so the actual, wait, hang on. The thing is, you can't do that. So because we package things up in the rendered component, rendered component, right?
Which is a concrete type.
A concrete type, then you can't have covariance on the generic argument, which is what we're doing, right? And working component, you're trying to cast a subclass into. So let's go. Let's create a small console app. We can just try it out. I'm fairly certain that's the issue here. It's just a empty new project, completely nothing else, right? Let's just do a small demo example, because this is C# stuff. It's not bUnit stuff.
So.
Yep. Okay. So in the program CS file, just down at the bottom, let's create a base class and a child class or whatever subclass. Yes. And then create a public, not interface, but we can do that. But start with, because in bUnit v1 we can call it the wrapper.
Okay, let's call it wrapper.
Yeah, and that takes a so actually you can create a joint interface. You can create a public interface I base that both of them inherit. No, that keep that a class. I want to have a shared thing, like similar to all components in Blazor. They inherit from I component, so I base, yes. Yeah, there you go. And we can have our wrapper, which takes an I, where T where T base class is an I base, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now go up to the top and do create a var wrapped base class. And yeah, it got it. And then create a yes. Well,
yay.
Well, you probably actually want to pass in. You want to. I guess can you change the wrapper so it actually takes an instance of. Have it take a parameter, take an instance of the so like maybe it has a property or something, right? Or where you can get to the T base class.
Instance, I'm so stupid though.
Yeah, you're thinking and then you pass that in through the. You can make, if you want to make it very quick, you can make a wrapper a record and just have it in the parameter. You want to pass in the instance.
Yeah.
So do new base Well, that's fine too. Yeah.
Don't have to over-engineer
You were
it
just
here.
doing it on pretty one-liners before. Now we are all of a sudden in a. Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted you to create a record class so you can just pass it in to the constructor, but that's
I
fine
know.
too. I know. Yeah, yeah. Now
Well,
you're
that was
insisting.
quicker that way.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's go.
Now
Okay. So if you try to do
a cast.
just try to do a cast from wrapped derived class. Try to cast that to wrapped base class, and I'm fairly certain. No, not the instance, just the type. This is like the same as we're doing in the in Blazor. Sorry, in bUnit, we are trying to cast our rendered component of type something of the derived class, and you wanna. Well, I think the compiler even says it can't be done, but I'm
Yep.
yeah.
It would only
And
work if we would do something like that and then only operate on.
well, so what you can do is you can create a static method just below there, where we basically create a shim of the find static find component or find base find base.
Yeah. Which would be a wrapper.
It would be a T base.
Ah, no, you don't get the wrapper. Sorry. Yes, you get
Yeah,
the T base.
T
class,
base.
and then you also have T base classes.
No, you get a wrapper back with a T base class in it, like we do with find component, right?
Then we have where. And
if you don't make it static, and you maybe put the two wrapped things you have up there, put them in a list. I actually just have this guy take a list as input, right? So it takes a list of I guess ibase. No, it takes a list of. What does it take a list of? It takes a list of wrapper
of T base class.
No, actually, what we have internally in bUnit, we have a list of what is a wrapper of ibase.
Ah.
Yeah, that's what we store, like, because that's the
In
base type, right?
V1.
Also, yeah, also in V2. The difference in
V2,
is in
yes,
V2.
but I thought in V1.
Yeah. Now, so there you would just do an objects dot.
Yeah, of type, or?
No, you probably want to do whatever first or default.
Oh. I would have done the other way around and then off type and first or default. But yeah, let's continue.
So you do say s instance is T-base.
Yeah, even that is like
No, not type of, just to do is T.
It's already a type. I'm sorry. Yes, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And that gives you a result out. So you find the first that is that. Then you try to cast that. So now you do the cast in here, yeah. Well, yeah, we can just assume that is something, right?
Yeah, and he says no. But in V2 we have.
Well, in V2 we don't have iRendered component. Like I think we're using I no in V2 we have iRendered component, but yeah.
But if
so
we take a step back,
the problem is that with interfaces you can add the you can, like, if you have an I list of things, right? You can also do that in your example code. If you have an I list of strings, you can cast that to an I list of objects, because everything is an object, right?
Yeah.
If you have an I list,
well, you cannot cast everything to an object, but yes.
Well, everything is an object, so you
Yeah,
can't
but
cast
rest
everything
structs
to
you
an
cannot
object.
cast.
Oh, well, okay.
But that is now.
Yeah.
Anyhow, my question is, but do we agree that this is a valid thing to do? And it seems, from an outside point of view, arbitrary that it crashes. Because I feel that, why shouldn't it work? Yes, it is because of our iRedot component hierarchy and whatnot, but that is an implementation detail. From a user's point of view, I absolutely understand that this might be confusing, that it does not work. And my question is whether or not we agree on this.
So is it because, so the problem is, what's the problem here? The problem is it only throwing if he's just searching first for working component and then for subcomponent?
Yes.
Yeah, and if we look at the code of find component, so
yeah, it is. Now off type was no wait. Where does it throw even? Let me just check the exception. Get a create rendered component. I was like, because this one would just give you an empty list if it can do stuff.
So we're gonna go to get a create entry component,
which is somehow done in here. I assume, yeah.
Let me.
Oh, thank you very much. I can also move this here, so it's perfect. Look how amazing.
Now I wanna have
it was amazing. It worked
up there. Oh, okay. So the problem is here we are pulling out. So is it on line 613 also in his code?
Damn it! It's unfortunately nothing. I don't understand this. We have debug symbols. We ship the debug symbols. I'm not sure why it's not showing up in users.
Well, you can probably create a repro, but yeah. I would assume that it's because we've already found a version of that component, and that component has been, added to the dictionary, and now we're getting it out again. Now we're trying to do the cast, and so I guess the fix in this particular case is that we just we try to get it out, the random component. We got it out.
You can check here whether or not.
So if it is castable, we return it. Otherwise, we throw it away what we have in the dictionary and we add it again. Basically, I wonder if there's.
Wait, we have to remove it. Otherwise, you are absolutely right.
No, I guess it's gonna be replaced.
Is it with rendered add component? Wait, that's not there. No, then we have a list of things.
Yeah, so you probably want to remove it first. Yeah, now.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's make that work.
No, well, let's try to write a test. I'm still wondering, because here we're working on, but it's the concrete type that we're getting back out. Let's create a test and see if we can reproduce that. That should be reproducible.
So let me just create two classes here. Huh? That's my base component, so it's just component base. Those jokes are writing themselves today. It's amazing. And
sure,
then we
let's
have
go.
the derived component, and that is base component.
No, it's
Why did I write sealed? My mistake. My mistake. Okay, and now we just need basically a small component.
Do you need a test?
Yeah, also, but that's not what I wanted to do. Is like component that has base and a derived component.
Are you sure he's doing both?
Yes.
Well, your AI is trying to help him. You.
That's why he does that.
No, so yeah, we have a page. So you have both types of components, I guess.
Yes. So yeah, exactly. That's why I. Oh, come on. So here you have the page. Oh, where is it here in here?
It's under components.
Is it in here? No, where did he put this? I guess this whole stuff is not even used. Ah, here. This is the only one used. You see,
Yeah.
both are in here.
Yeah.
So I basically want
Well,
to do the same.
you don't have to do that. You can just use the wrapper component we have in bUnit test assets, and add both as childs.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, fact display. No. Steam don't
Well, you can just write the test name, man. Doesn't it's fine to do it now. Hey, just vibe coding. Yes,
do
sure.
it both ways.
Hey, fool's enable. So Steve is my my AI agent today.
But he's very, very poor.
Oh.
He cannot really do it, as you can see. And he
We are
uses
the
also
GPT-1
AI.
level.
This is like subcontracting.
Yeah.
You basically offload all the stuff to me, and then it's
Yeah.
like this silent post thingy, and I try to offload even further, and it just it gets a bit worse every step in the chain. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're going for. A little bit worse.
So basically we have two ways. So we can look for, can search. How do we call
No.
that?
So it's something about searching for find component. So the problem is we're finding the same component instance twice, but with but targeting different with different casts. I don't know. Naming is hard. I guess you could also just reference the issue simply, like have it as a pound issue number.
So now we're cooking. So we have it. We have the test context already, which is I will remove this down here. I hope it's fine, so we have a bit more vertical space.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we want to say render. Then you said
no,
we have this
you want to. Are you a razor file? You're not in a razor file, so you're not gonna be able to do that. You're gonna do you want to use render component.
Fortunately, so much
wrapper. And it has add child content, and you can
there is a way to disable that with
there is some option, and you just say add both base component and derived component. Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to add just some, override the in the base and target? Do you want to override? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
No,
that's not good.
Well, we can just have it as add text content. Doesn't have to be a element at all. It's fine. Add content, I think is enough. And just give it a string and say, hey, base. Yep.
I mean, with find component, that's all. In theory, we need nothing because you can just check the type.
Yeah, but it's just do a start by doing a markup matches empty string just to see that we have. So I just want to make sure that we're not gonna start debugging for 5 minutes. But before you do a find component, just do a sanity check and do markup matches and empty string and run the test, and see that it contains. Well,
why should it be empty? Wait, what?
It shouldn't be empty, but if you just pass in the empty string, we will get a test fail, and we will see what's in there.
Derived should be written.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just want to double check before we go any further, so we're not. No, you don't have to. Yeah, you can do that, but it's fine too.
I want to.
You want to. You don't like failing tests.
No, I like that my assumption, my brain is correct.
Yeah. Let's validate.
Let's compile. Mate. So you can see my processor is
Yeah, yeah.
he's not happy. He's not happy.
The new .NET release certainly is able to parallelize a lot more than the previous versions. I also remember last time we were on stream and I was building or running test from the command line. It just froze my video because it ate up all the cores. So yeah.
I see. Okay. But at least then I know when it's somewhat ready. I guess also
It's doing
.NET
things.
takes 2 GB now. It's taking more and more and more. Oh,
Software update
software
is running as well.
update. Yeah, that's important. Oh, we dropped 2 GB. Just dropped at 1 point something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the generators is the problem. Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So delete that version there. We don't need that anymore.
What?
Delete that version. We don't need it. That's fine. Right.
Oh, but that was right. Okay.
Yeah, you were right. Oh, it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it
So-
actually passed. So you can just delete this version. And I guess then you want to do basically put in a cut. No, do a thing should not throw.
I don't like that.
Like,
Can we not do this?
Yeah. Well, let's try it out. Well, because we
Should
want to
not
assert that.
throw.
No, you do no delete the line and just say should. Should, there you go, not throw. And then you create a lambda, and then we have, well, probably want to do 2 lines. So can you add curly brackets so you can? There we go. And what is
So
it
we
he's
start
doing
with
in
this
his
format.
example?
So
Does he go base component first or?
so the broken one is base first, and let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go here. No, I was correct.
You can do, if you hit the dot, it will
Sub.
open up. Yeah, base
the
first.
base one, then the sub. That
Work,
throws.
working component and sub component. That's yeah. Okay. Okay, let's run the test. This
Let's
should be a bit
go.
faster second time, right? Because it's already done the compiling.
Yeah, and that is green.
Oh, because you fixed it. Go back and unfix.
Sorry.
Just stash your changes, man.
Then everything is gone. Also, the test is gone. That's not smart.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Oh yeah.
I mean,
you,
I could
you can
s- I
just
could
stash
stash
the
the
individual
hunks.
file. Yeah.
But to be honest, that's way quicker. I'm very, very, very pragmatic.
So did it already finish again?
No, it didn't even build. Sometimes the I highly doubt that this is this quick. Are you sure? Test render. We took this out.
Yeah.
That was
This is-
way too quick.
Run the test
Because it's
again.
Also, nah, that's green. You know what? Clean solution. No, really. Sometimes that happens. I do not know why.
Well, that's
Because
problematic, man. you if you think you have all green tests, but they actually failing, that
we are
sucks.
sure that the whole chain has to be rebuilt. I mean, this is the core.
I want to
package.
see it fail before we commit a change. That's how I
yes.
roll.
In the meantime, I could just write a README because it takes a few seconds.
Well, we don't want to steal CPU time away.
Okay, now we're rolling. Now that's something. Okay. Perfect. Maybe I should not have cleaned all. That doesn't matter. So you're done? Thank you. Dear ma. Okay. Jesus Christ. What?
No, he can't help you, man.
No. No, not start building unit core again. Thank you. Ooh. It is green. I do not enjoy that.
No. So let's go and have a look at his example again. Like, what are we missing? If you
I mean,
do
he uses find components, but that's absolutely no difference.
is it
Find
find component? Yeah.
Maybe you use find component, but this is
that-
literally doing find components.
Well, okay, no, actually,
no, it's
there is a
not.
difference because find components will
Uses
find
the
component will
first
stop at the
one.
first, yes.
Ooh.
And
Spicy,
there's
spicy.
two components that matches the query, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Now it's failing. Okay,
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Steven did good, so Steven presses run unit tests. Oh yeah, now it compiles. And now it's great.
Yeah, okay. Like try running all the tests.
Do those sound effects do anything for you?
Yeah. Okay, so actually what happens is if you go back, so my whole point about covariance or contravariance, if you go back to the code where you actually fixed it, the other no, not that one, but go to that one and go and have a look in the dictionary rendered components. I believe they are just stored as object. Just I render fragment base. So we throw away the ability for the
information.
compiler to say, hey, this can't be done. So if you go back to your sample project that you did before, and perhaps like just drop the 5 to line 9 file code you have there. But instead just, well, actually no, you can also redo it again. That's fine. But if we say it's a list of objects instead, right? And you basically say, hey, give me, now you can do off type, right? You can just do, well, say, probably can do, I think you're missing yeah, that might.
So now I want to have, what do we want to, so basically I want to have
So
base class. No, basically I want to have all of them. That would be, no, it doesn't matter, huh? And then,
yeah, so if you just create a new list with, well,
what is wrong?
You're missing a parenthesis somewhere. Higher
No,
up.
I'm an idiot.
Oh, okay. I think it's, oh yeah.
It doesn't crash. Oh,
No, so you are asking for base class and both. I think what are we trying?
I mean, nah, this one will never work. I mean, this should work in all the cases. Should never throw. That's obvious, huh? Because
Oh yeah, because off
makes
type.
a
We're not
weird
trying
check.
to do a cast. It's a soft cast
Exactly.
off type, right? So you
If
want
it
to
was
say,
this one would crash.
yeah,
But that's
I would think
obvious.
so.
So if
Well, it's the same thing we're
this
doing,
one?
so it makes sense, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's exactly what the same exception we saw before, right? And it's because that it's the
This
type
one should work.
that should work, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is actually possible. But the thing is, the underlying, like the type that is actually in the dictionary is actually is the right type. Like there is one. Like so what we did is, if you go back to the example code again, you had the sample code, right? Not that one, but the in
It's
writer. And the other writer, yes. So if you just pass in the derived type, like not the base class, but the derived type.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, so you'd only have, so the thing is, in our dictionary, right, in bUnit, we have
Yeah, we have this, not even.
no, well, what we do have is we have a dictionary. So in that on that component ID, even though the component that is stored that the actual instance of the component that is stored on the component ID is the same. You're basically getting to the same component ID every time. If you go back to the Blazor code where you changed it. So on line, whatever it was, 613 or something. There, right? So we are going in on line 611 and trying to find a component by component ID, right? Because we have run through the component tree and identified a component that is of type T component, right? The first time we did, we found the same component, and it was also of type T component because we were looking for the base component type. We found that. And now we want to go in and say, hey, have I already created a rendered component, which is our bUnit wrapper around the actual component instance? And we created it as the T component, the base component type. So now we have stored in our dictionary a rendered component of T component, and T component was the base component type originally. Now we're
asking for T derived.
Yeah, now we're asking for T derived, and we are getting render component of component ID out. So we do have one, but it's been created initially. The generics of the sort of wrapping component has been created as yeah. So you can't recast it. We can't make it more specific, even though the actual type, in the render component is the type as well, right? So yeah. So yeah, that should actually work. Now, my only concern here would be that we've previously returned that rendered component. But that's probably not a problem, right?
That doesn't change, huh?
No, I'm wondering if we... so when the bUnit renderer completes, right?
Yeah.
When it's disposed, it will dispose of the rendered components. And does that mean that the rendered component that we've removed from the dictionary now just is hanging somewhere and not getting disposed? I am wondering if it's a problem, though. If it's not, probably not. It's probably not a problem, right?
Did we use this one for disposing?
Find references to that.
Apply render event.
Yeah, so we are reacting to it like we are updating it, right? We're replacing it.
Ooh, but this might... It's interesting that there's not a failing test, so indicating that it's okay-ish, but I expected even something now, seeing that code.
Well, so I think what would happen is that you've returned a rendered component, right? So we maybe want to add an extra test. So what would happen is that we return the rendered component when we search for the base type. And if we are using that, if we still have that base type and we're still waiting, for example, we have a wait for render on that, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't actually see any renders, right? Because we've taken it away, we moved it out. So I guess the fallback would be that the solution for that. So now you would need to do something with, I don't know, wait for. Well, we can just wait for re-renders, right?
We can also use some events, huh?
Well, you can just trigger a render on it. My point would be probably that we would, instead of storing rendered components in the dictionary just as a single one, we probably want to support that we can return multiple rendered components for the same baseline component, right? Does that make sense? So we have a list. Yeah, list. For the most part, it wouldn't. There would only be one, but I think we kind of need to do that. in this particular case.
I mean, that's probably not a good idea. I'm with you. But then you have to, then you just go through the list here and check whether or not you can do something.
Yeah, there's one of them that can be cast, and if it can, then we return that. Otherwise, we just exit out and we
So
have
basically off type. So if this is a list, then we make off type and then first, in the hopes that there is only no, not first.
First or default. Well, there would be at least one in there.
There has to be one, otherwise.
Yeah, but first or default. Yeah, first or default. Yeah.
Let's do it, huh?
Let's write a test first.
With wait for. Those thingies are not doing anything anyway. But
no, but that's okay. What you can do is we have a render count on the rendered component that we can just look at, right?
Okay, but still I would do this first because we need the visual cycle in place.
Well,
and basically,
yeah, I guess. Yeah, find components. Well, don't have to do first. I guess it doesn't matter. It would be the same for. So I think you would want to keep all components. Just do find components and have them in an array.
Okay, I'm not sure where you're driving at, but let's go. I had something else in my mind.
Yeah. So we have our components. Now, normally we should be able to basically take, well, we can just do the first component, but I think the derived component, which is the one we actually want to look for, is the second one. We want to
look for the first one because we're dropping right now the first one. So if you do a wait for on the first one, that would never receive anything again.
No, it will be the second component because the second component in the tree, right? That's the derived, and that's the second one you're looking for. The first one can't be cast to the derived one, so it doesn't matter.
No. This matters because we are dropping it out of the dictionary. That's
the derived one, right?
No, that is the base one. It was this call here. The second call went through the exception.
Yeah, exactly.
On this in the old one.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the dictionary earlier was base component. This one was of type base component. Yes.
So Stephen, what happens is if you go back to the first test we wrote, right? The first call to find components, plural, that will return to two rendered components, right? Because first it finds the finds the base component and the derived component.
Yes.
The second one will only return one component because there's only one that matches that signature. So it's the second component that causes, because the second component were originally stored as two base component, render component, base component. So it's when it finds the second component ID 2, that is the thing it's trying to cast from the base component to a derived component, which it is, but we can't cast it because it's nested inside a type. So now what we do want to do here is we want to say, okay, I've found my I find my two base components out. I want to take the second of the two, and I want to, so we save that for later, right? So probably actually what you want to do here on line 104, you found the two components, and you just say, save the last one. Give me the last one. Just keep the last one, because that's the derived component. Or you can do, actually, if you want to be explicit, we can say select.
Yeah, no,
so do instead of saying last. Yeah, well, let just for the good measure, just do instead of doing last, then do select. No, sorry, where? My bad. Where?
Yeah, don't you want to have off type?
But humor me. Where s over in s dot instance is. Yes, there we go. So now we have one left, and you can do single, just to be explicit. Say this is what we're expecting, right? So now we have that single. Why is there red squigglies? and underline galore. Oh yeah, you can just, yeah, exactly. So we want the one that is the derived one. Now, so I guess we can call it derived component initial, I don't know, something. Or first first find, I don't know, yeah. And then basically do a find components, do the same thing in the second, yeah. And there will again only be the one. And it's already, yeah, it's already that type, so we don't have to do the single because we explicitly asked for that, right? When you called find. Now, what I expect to happen is that with the current fix we have, if we run derived component first search dot render to trigger a re-render of it, its render count will not go to 2, but the render count of derived
This
component second search will go to 2, and we would want both of them should be 2. Both of them should be 2, right? Because people they might have, that basically that would, if it doesn't go to 2, then it doesn't means that wait for and all of the other things wouldn't be triggered on the first one that's returned, and we would still want that, right? Agree on this test? Okay, let's try to run it and see it. Oh, you're already on that. Yes. Can you switch the order so we assert that the second is 2, so we know that it actually is going to 2, the second one, which we're expecting it to do. I just want to make sure my assumptions are right. Sorry, Fuel's Enable, I am ignoring you. What are you saying to us? The key for VS Performance is to turn off Teams. Sure. So you mean like as in the person sitting in front of a computer, performance of that person, and turn off Teams so you don't get called up? I would agree with that. I've actually I want to give JetBrains Rider a proper try because I've noticed that on my otherwise quite beefy machine, Visual Studio gets really, really slow after a few hours of coding. So, and it's, yeah, it's a whole thing, I think. But the problem is we're using the latest version of XUnit, and last I checked, XUnit free version 2 of XUnit free version 2.
It's working.
It's working now again? Oh, the test is passing?
2 days ago.
Oh, okay. No, with the XUnit thing, yes, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yes. But it's which one is what assertion statement is failing? Is it the one?
The first one. That's this one.
Okay, yeah, the first, yeah, but the second line, second assertion, but the first search.
The first component search.
Yeah. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to have a nifty way of basically, I don't know if so. The quick and dirty is to just have it as an array, right? Yeah. Like a simple, like it's a dictionary of something. I would probably, because 99.999 or so % will just be there will only be one element in that. Yeah. So I don't know if we can make like the starting type in there is not it
list.
Might be a not a list, but something that is less expensive.
This one?
No, not an abstraction. I would just have like a private type called maybe a single element collection or something that's specifically created, and maybe it's a read-only struct. So we use that for all the default things, right? You can just do a file. File.
No, I just want to put it in here just to get ideas.
Prototype.
Don't
fair
we
enough.
Have like even an inline array where the second option, the second element is optional.
No, so what I want is
no, we have.
read-only record struct for this, if that's even possible in the version
Yes.
of.
Doesn't
Yeah,
matter. It's
not a record struct, just a read-only struct is no, probably a record struct actually is good because then you get all the default comparisons and all that, and then you just call it, I don't know, single element collection.
I would put the type in there as well. It's not like we have to do the generic now.
Yeah.
Single. It's not a single. That's not true.
Well,
Most of the
so
times, single.
no. So I want a specific type that can only hold one element. And then if we get to the exceptional case where we need to have more than one, we create a list. So what we have is it should just implement IEnumerable of t and nothing else. Implement IEnumerable of t. So what we do in our code is that we iterate over that. Or I collection, that's fine too. I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's just simpler with IEnumerable t. Yeah. And that's literally it. You can even have it as input. It just takes like with you can and you can have it. You use parameters. The parameter for it. No, just have an t item. Yeah, and the get element. It's simply yeah. Do we even want to have? We can also make it a I read only list. That's probably I read only list.
My list is a collection.
Because then we don't need to. Because then no, it's fine. No, just a read only collection. Yeah. Well, we would just use off type anyway, right? We will iterate. Yeah. So don't. Yeah. Just say IEnumerable. Sorry. Just IEnumerable is fine. And yeah, then get enumerator would just with not that method, but the top one. You don't need to do anything else. Just the top one. Just say yield return element.
Oh yeah. That doesn't work for enumerator. It only works for enumerables. That's why I wanted to write my own.
Oh.
That's why I wanted to say private sealed.
Wait, what? I've done that multiple times.
No, you did this if the return type is IEnumerable because it creates an enumerator behind the back, but it wraps that in the enumerable.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So the IEnumerable. No, you don't have to. No. Just Stephen. Just do a method. Just do a method. Do an private IEnumerable of t.
Yeah.
And then just say, and then yield return. There you go.
Hey.
Oh. It's element, not element reference.
Thank you. Why don't you want to do this? Excuse me?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But you have element here, so he understands this.
Yeah.
Not like that. Why cannot
yield return?
Hey,
there you go. Yeah, it was not return yield. You said return yield before. Now it's yield return.
Ah, did I?
Yeah, I think so. Well, why it's still complaining? Oh yeah, you want to call that from up there? Yeah, just. I don't think you need to do get enumerator.
Yes.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad.
That's the other way around. Enumerable derives from. But yeah. Anyhow, why can I not make? Could it be that this one is not allowed? You cannot make this as a lambda expression?
Probably not. Apparently not.
Why though?
I have no idea, man. That's. Are you sure you can't do yield return up now in get enumerator?
Oh yeah, I guess I could. Yeah, if I do this, yeah, then I can do it, but only then.
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't think that would be a problem. Okay, So essentially, what we do is we up in the code, we just add that whenever we need to add a normal element,
Then
and
this
so we
one
have
has
to change
be,
that to
wait.
just einrubel, yeah.
F off. So
There you go.
yeah, we can do this later. I just want to the add. That's the only one rendered. Oh, yeah, there was it, huh? Components add. So in this case, I'm pretty certain this is the single one, huh? It
So
will
scroll up a
always
little bit
be-
for me.
That's the render method.
Yes, that's when the first time the thing is rendered, right? Yeah. So that would
here
be
we always want to have the single element
Yeah.
list.
yeah.
Can
You
we
don't have
make
to
this directly a rendered component base or so? I feel like there's no need to have a generic, but
absolutely whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
I rendered because now I have to do this.
Yeah. you can
I
just
don't
make
know.
it-
However you prefer. If you want to
No,
have
it's
a generic
fine.
or
It's
not.
fine. It's fine. That doesn't need to be generic. We're not gonna reuse it. I just want to move it into so it's a private type inside the renderer.
I'm so stupid. Amazing.
Mm.
Good. D'accord?
Hmm.
You agree? Good.
Yep.
Then the nifty bit is, I guess, this one here.
Well, so now we know it's an enumerable. So you just do your
so
yep.
basically what we could make it very
So
very simple.
the problem you have now is you have two type. You have maybe call it RCs or something. Yeah. Yeah, that's
you're
fine.
right. We could, in theory, make an optimization here if RCS is the single one or a demo.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can say that is
Yeah,
the-
but probably better than using get enumerators. Yeah, so add the, yeah, you can just do element on that. It should have an element property, public property
Why
called element.
Why not?
It's because you have to assign. No, you're fine. Go back up again. No, it's not that. That's that.
Yeah, good. You mean here?
No, yeah, no, up where we're just writing. So you have to say RCS is single element list and do SEL, yeah, or whatever, and then you can do SEL dot element.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, you want to do and s. So you can basically do the curly brackets element and then no, almost single element and then no, and no. So inside the curly, element, element colon, and then the type we want to have out. If it's is rendered component of G component. No, not type of, just rendered component of G component. Just try the cast. Oh no, that's not gonna work. Never mind. My bad. So yeah, you don't want to do if it is that and yeah.
Why cannot? Element we called it.
Yeah, is not type of. Just the pressure of coding in front of people, man. It's a thing. And then you can
it does work though.
And now you can oh, but now you're casting twice, so there's no need to do that. So I like the other one before, where you are pulling element out and assigning it to a variable. Yeah, and then give it a variable name there. I don't know, just cost C or RC. And return RC. Yeah, I think you have it in release mode, so that's why it's giving you so many red squigglies.
Oh. Ah.
Ah, nice. Okay, I didn't
did
know we
not
can do
know
that. Okay, okay. Otherwise,
Okay,
we
otherwise...
we escape out. We don't
No,
remove the
wait, that's
component.
wrong. That's wrong. That's exactly the case as before.
No, yeah. So, but now we,
This will
if
always be the case.
yes, no. The thing is, you want to remove 624, line 624, and the lines above, obviously. Also those guys. And now we get down here. So now we said, okay, it didn't match what we had. So now we wanna, replace the existing single element list, if there is one already, with yeah.
No, doesn't exist. Is there not any like triad? Yeah, we could do triad, and if it doesn't work, we know. No.
Yeah. Again, optimize for the happy path. Yeah.
Isn't
So
that the
yeah,
happy
you
path?
wanna.
That's the happy path.
Yeah. So that's fine. So why is it complaining?
It wants now. Of course, we need a single data element here now again.
Yeah. So you can do the new
Single. How was it called? Result dot.
Yeah. Result. Just result. That's fine.
Exactly. And if it doesn't.
And if
work,
that fails, we know it's an update, and we want to put it in just put it in an array, I guess. Just do
But first, we need the old element outside.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Oh, it's doing it for you.
The components.
And here you can then do
override.
you can do the spread. You can do the spread operator, right? So basically, take the existing ... and then the result. Yep. So it doesn't matter if the existing is if there's only 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5 in there, it's gonna spread it out anyway. And so now we have.
So we're covered even if we have 3 items in there.
Yeah, but we still need, so up in the first if, we need an if here, where we say, well, okay, so it's not a single, so then it must be a list. So now we do else. Yeah, and then we say, hey,
for each,
well,
like we take the first we can cast.
So what you want to do is say else if RCS of type the first we can cast first, because there should only be one that we can cast. Like, we don't want to have duplicated of the same thing, right? So his question is of type rendered component, yeah. And then you say first.
Yeah, even that. We want to have an exception, don't we? If this is
no,
or we can make a debug. Okay.
Yeah, you can make a debugger state, but yeah. Question is, do we? Yeah. So you basically try to find one. If you don't find one, right? So you basically do single or default. iRender component page does not have, so you want to do iRender component. No, you try.
No, I want to have this one. This is literally our signature. That's what we want.
Yeah, and then you, if it's not null, you return it, or otherwise you break out of the if and going forward down to the next line. So yeah, you could probably. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So now tests should still be passing. Well, we have a whole bunch of red squigglies elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, everywhere now where we have on render and whatnot, I feel like what is RC? We should now as a bit.
That's rendered component, yeah.
Isn't it easier to have this whole apparatus as its own custom type?
Perhaps.
And then have those, it's just forward functions, but You know what I mean? Because
So,
everywhere now we have to make a for each around.
well, you would, so it's the RC that you want to for each around, right? So you
Yeah,
have
exactly.
RC there. So if you scroll up a bit, so here we for each. So here where we basically we do a try find component.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, so that would need to.
Now, if you have something, then you make the for each here.
Yeah.
So maybe you call it RCSs.
Yeah, RCSs, and then you for each all RCSs, and you put the stuff that are in there. Yeah, exactly. Pull that down.
Like that.
Yeah. What's the if here?
Rendered component?
Oh,
What is rendered components?
a render component was that was the RC.
Ah.
Oh, it's because we're adding it back in again. We're removing it and adding it. Editing.
Then new thing.
Yeah,
Yo.
but you're probably
Well,
right. It's easier.
Wait, that's wrong. We remove everything for that component ID. We have to find. We should probably have a hash set. You want to have that concrete thing. This is wrong. We just remove literally everything. If we have the case that there's more than one element, we remove both of them, but only add one back. That's not correct.
No. So that would be right. So I think maybe instead of storing the rendered component base in, like we have we have a type instead of our single element list. Like we need a type that will forward calls to all. Now I'm wondering, why are we adding and removing it again?
Why is it not charging? Wait, I have to.
Okay.
You can think a second, and I have to fix my camera because it's almost empty.
Yeah. RC can replace the instance of a component it is bound to while processing an update event.
Fixed it.
Yeah. So I think perhaps the problem, like, I think it's fine to have the dictionary, but the type should be a type that can both handle one or more. And then some of the methods, all the red squigglies that you basically have in the file.
Discriminated unions, you know.
Well, yes and no. The thing is,
Doesn't help for the
calling,
multi-case.
we're calling a bunch of methods on it. So we wanna, so if you undo the last change you made, like undo the last change you made down in that file there, and let's basically go over all the red squigglies that are in the document now. So that is places where we are.
I mean, this one is
where
a simple
we
one.
Yeah. Sure, but yeah, you select many, I guess.
Yeah.
And on the values, because it's a key value, so you want to select many on the values, rendered components dot values. But leave that for now. So what I wanna do is I wanna find all the commonalities between the red squigglies. So what are we doing, right? So here we are calling on render. So that's a method on rendered component we're calling. If you scroll further down, on render, further down. Now here, stop a little bit up again. There we go. So here we are looking at each of the component and saying, hey, the component that is captured by the rendered component might actually change. So I guess what happened is that a component can be removed during a render cycle and added back in again. There's some edge cases, I think, but where this can happen, right? So the component gets disposed, but then re-added. I can't remember what the cases are, but it was important enough that I actually wrote a comment explaining why are we actually doing this. So I'm not sure what the cases are, but if we remove that functionality, I hopefully have a test that breaks. But so what we're doing is we're basically saying, hey, is the component ID no longer the same? And if it isn't, we remove the old component ID and we add the rendered component back in again, because it now has it should be under a different key, right? So the operation here is basically, so like you said something about the dictionary being a more specialized type, like a specialized type where we have like we could reduce the functionality of a dictionary down to add this component or add this rendered component. So you don't pass in a component ID, but you say add this rendered component, and the type will figure out what bucket to put it in, or remove this rendered component, and it will remove the rendered component. Well, I guess it's the thing is, if you scroll up a bit, I guess there's a place where we dispose, right? On dispose, and I'm guessing here we also remove the component. Now, for a component
but
to
here that would be true, or if the parent component, so that would be still fine to remove everything, because every child would be also removed. That would be fine.
Yes. And honestly, I think it's probably fine down below as well, because if the rendered component is pointing, like all rendered components that are pointing to the same component, they would have the same problem, right? They would, yeah, like if the actual instance of the component is being disposed and there's a new component instead that it's pointing to. Now, I'm really trying hard to remember why this was even something that we needed to do. Like, for a component to be replaced, the other component would have to be had to have been disposed, and it would
processing the update event, the instance even of the component, the whole thing.
Yeah, the instance. Yeah, the instance. So not our render component.
No, not
bUnit,
our representation of that, but
no,
Blazor's
our wrapper
instance.
around. Yeah, the actual Blazor component.
How is that? I mean, the only thing I can assume is you have a component. Can I just like where in the on initialized, like you have an if else, if it's loading, which you set in on initialized, but this would not replace the component itself, but all its children. So I'm not sure
if this at all makes sense. Like, well, so what we can do is we can go and stash or create a separate branch and store the current edits on, and then try to comment that out, because I'm not sure like it makes sense.
We can also check the coverage. That would be the easiest, to be honest. But can I do something?
Yeah.
Because I have now unfortunately two things at the same time. Which
okay, yeah, let's
can we remove this?
Let's clean up
a branch.
Yeah. Good idea, Stephen. Good idea.
Because I feel like I'm in the way. It doesn't matter. It's just text on the right side. It's not so important.
I will move us over.
Quick. Yeah. Okay. So let me just take the bits we need. That is this one.
Yeah.
Let me take the changelog, the parser we discussed, and this test. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
out.
I think the fix that we are doing, like the whole find components thing, I don't think that's ready for.
Exactly, that's why I want to take this out.
I just want good. Yeah, I just want to make sure you didn't take the other thing out.
No, this one is a valid test. So
yeah,
those is like fix English or bUnit. How do you call that? We can like bUnit can handle relative units in markup.
Yeah.
good, fair.
Yeah,
Let
we
me
need that.
commit this. Let me push this. Amazing. Let me revert this. Oh boy, where's my file? Here. Exactly like this. Let's make that a stash. Now, let's go back to develop. Too many branches. Sorry. I'm still in my work mode. Let's call it fix mult inheritance find components, something like that. To be renamed. Git stash pop, and there we go. So you're driving me nuts. Fair. I think that is. Oh. Ah, it stashed this one as well. Yeah, fair enough. Okay. 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 Perfect. That is. Can you mark this as resolved? I accept now mine because that is literally what I did.
Should I do something?
No, it doesn't matter.
No,
Put
no.
it in here.
It's okay. I can do. I wasn't sure what. Sorry, I just got
No,
a
no,
text
no.
message from my wife, so I was reading that. So should I mark something as resolved? I just you just lost me for
No.
for 10 seconds there.
No.
I want to be helpful.
No, I screwed up the stashing. I stashed too much. And then there was a merge conflict, and then I used the wrong accept. I said accept yours, but yours in this case was the main branch and not the stash. And then I basically removed everything again. Anyhow, so these are the changes. We want to go in here.
That's the advantage, I guess, of actually doing making changes live on stream. If you really fuck up, you can always rewatch what you did and reproduce, right? So this is like the old school backup.
So now I stash everything again, and now the simple thing is we don't have to remove.
Oh, we also got a raid. One line is here.
Ooh, hello.
So
should I just say, you know what? Cover all tests from solution and just see if there's anything running through that.
Welcome, folks.
That would be the easiest, wouldn't it be?
Yes, do that.
And that gives me a short bio break if this is all right with you.
Okay, I'll do a song
capable of
dance.
entertaining the masses?
Well, I can sleep a little bit here at the microphone. No, it's fine. Yeah. So
let me open this one. So there's something happening in the background. I will be back in half a minute.
Yeah, do your thing, man. Do your thing. Yeah. So one lion. We appreciate the rate. I'm not actively monitoring Twitch chat because we're just sitting here. Steven and I are using Twitch chat. No, not Twitch. StreamYard, right? So and we've been live coding on some bUnit. That were actually, I think we had the first 2 bug reports in a couple of years, more or less. Oh, not a couple of years. I make it sound better than it is, but we definitely don't get many bugs in bUnits, but there were actually 2 that were recent enough. Oh well. Thank you, Frank. Well, whatever it says here on screen. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate that. Steve and I try to be semi-regularly online here on Fridays afternoons, local time. And I'm really gonna try to say that. F. Boon Sharos.
I am back.
Okay, I'll include you then. There you go, my friend. Yeah, so we try to be semi-regularly streaming. Well, the goal is every Friday, but well, recent events such as the MVP Summit and other things have kept us away. But yeah, and we've actually had a pretty good stream for the last 2 hours. We had actually fixed, like I was telling people while you were gone, Stephen. We fixed probably the first. You heard me. I think don't you agree? It might be the first 2 bugs reports, real bugs we've had in like a year or so.
Quite some time. Yeah. So this one is never ever hit in any of our tests. Let's say it like that.
Okay.
None of our tests will go in here. None.
I am curious because I actually took the time to
Yeah,
to
exactly.
write the
I guess this
there's a whole
comment
thing.
is not just because you were bored.
No, oh, I meant it. Yes, Frank, both Steven and I are MVPs. Steven did not join us at the MVP Summit in person in Seattle this year. It is
You're giving me more props than I deserve. I didn't even join virtually.
no, well, it is time zone wise a bit of a challenge if you're
Yeah.
not in the Pacific time
Yeah,
zone.
unfortunately, it's the West Coast. If it would be East Coast, it would be at least not so
So
far in the night for me.
4 or 5 hours, yeah. Yeah, basically the event starts when you get off work. So yeah.
Yeah, or even
I know
later.
it's always a
Sometimes
good
it's 9
experience,
o'clock,
yeah.
10 o'clock local time.
Oh yeah, it goes long. Okay. Oh man. But if we think about it, like if you go, so let's go to component ID. Let's go to the actual like property. Let's see where it's getting its value from. No, there. So yeah, so there's two component ID. No, I mean the one on the rendered component.
Because I went there and you said no. So
Yeah. So and when we went to the interface, I wanted to go to the implementation.
probably this one.
Yeah. And what is that pointing to? Like, where does that get assigned? Because
Either
I
from
might have been,
constructor
yeah,
or from set
oh,
component and ID, which is
okay,
from onRender.
yes. Set component and ID.
Render event. And this one
Check.
is called in the onRender method. Fair enough. That makes sense.
Yeah. So do we really not have any? So I'm a bit hesitant to remove the code because, you know, but I'm also
It's there for a reason, maybe. But would it change so much if we
well,
if we keep
try
it?
removing it. Well, it might have been there due to other things, and it might also been a misinterpretation of like we had a couple of years back, we had some issues with race conditions and other things, and that might have been things like that might have been my conclusion saying, "Hey, weird shit is happening. It looks like this is happening, so I'ma fix it like that," right? If we are saying we don't have any test that hits that right now,
Yeah.
should we just remove it? Right? Well, what do you think? Like, should we just try to like?
I have a real hard. I mean, I understand the comment, and I cannot figure out in my head how this works. How can the Blazor component in the initial renderer be replaced like entirely?
So if we go back, so again, so there's two places that component ID is being set, right? It's during the when it's actually instantiated up in the render component method high up above, right? And then I guess it's somewhere in the update.
Exactly, which calls the onRender.
It calls on render, yeah. So let's go into that, right? Now the thing is, I don't.
Reason
No,
if you do something in on after render where the state has changed.
Well,
But this would
I think
no.
the thing. Okay, so we can also go look at what we essentially saying here is we have an instance of a component, like an instance of a Blazor component, and it has an ID. If we look at the Microsoft, if we go to the source code for Blazor, right? Look at I guess is it rendered component actually?
No, you mean component based or rendered? How's it called?
No, so
Component?
there is the component ID, right? It's stored somewhere.
Yeah.
And so it's I think what we're saying is that the component ID
Component state. This was one that I was looking for.
Yeah. Component state, I guess. Is there any chance where the component ID changes, but the component does not
Gets
change?
only.
Well,
So
yeah.
No.
Exactly. So, because that's essentially what we are looking at here, is we are looking at that. So I think if you rephrase the comment I wrote, is what I'm saying there is that I'm saying that the ID and the associated component has, like, the ID. It could also be interpreted as the ID changed for the component, but the component stayed the same. So if you go into, let's go into the code again that we have.
You lost me with that. Why should this happen? How should this happen? Even.
So I'm trying to figure out, like a different way of looking at this, right? So we basically have a rendered fragment. It was associated with a component ID, right? So we have our own dictionary that maps from component IDs to rendered components, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, agreed so far. And what we are saying is that the component ID now has a different component instance associated with it. And I am not sure if that makes sense at all.
Wait, how do we get this component ID? Like, how should this ever match? Like,
So component ID,
condition.
if you scroll up a bit,
Comes
component
from the render
ID.
events.
No, it comes higher up again. Higher up.
Component ID comes from here.
Yeah, from render events. Yeah, and render events is, a custom thing that we built because it made sense at the time.
This is new. How should this ever have something?
No, yeah. So what we do is we take the thing is I take a render batch, and I run through that, and then I stuff things from render batch into.
Sorry, I didn't see that as a local method. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I thought this is a separate
No,
method which has no access to render event. But no,
Yeah.
of course it has.
Yeah. So we are looping over render event, and we are saying, hey, this is disposed IDs, and these are the updated IDs. So we get the component ID from the render tree. So line, 197 there. We have updated component ID, and then we have some edits for that. And finally, we have in rendered components, we basically loop through,
Dictionary.
Yeah, our dictionary of all our RCs, and we say, hey, the component ID that is attached to the
So here we're filling up the custom struct.
Yeah, we're getting frames out there, yeah.
For a component ID and then the frame. I'm just still puzzled how the association down there should work, that this ever hits.
Yeah, me too. If a child component...
Oh, sorry. I pressed the button.
If a child component of the current component has been disposed, there's no reason to load the disposed component render tree frames. This can also cause Stack Overflow if the current component was previously a child of the disposed component. Is that possible? Question mark? Maybe. Oh no, I think that was, yeah, if you have a component that moves around. So I think components can move in the component tree. Well,
but wouldn't it have a different component ID then?
Well, it can still move, I guess, because it, but yeah, we can talk. Can you remember back when we had that meeting with the Blazor team back 2 or 3 years ago? And my assumption is that the component tree cannot be in multiple places at once. However, in case this is not correct, this ensures that, I only load it once. Yeah.
Yeah, it
This is
makes
just
sense. Or you cannot have yourself because it would be indefinite recursive. Not
yeah,
indefinite. You can
but there
have if
might there.
conditions and whatnot, but
But we have sections right now, and maybe that was written before we had sections, and maybe that I was looking at. So with section and section outlets, we might have problems like that ago.
well, if a child code has been disposed, okay. I'm not sure if this holds true. Even without, like, I can come up with something like components. Like, I just make it now stupid. Something else. And that something else can have component again. But
Well,
maybe
it's
you
a
can say
different instance. It's the instances
It's
we're
true,
talking
it's true.
about, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair.
But yeah, now, okay, well,
Suppose, yeah, that makes sense. Basically up till the root here, that's what we do on V2.
mm,
Okay, so
then we basically
I
apply them.
exactly, so we fill this up.
Yeah.
Now we have this, not this one. Now the question is, we have those render
So,
events.
mm,
And where's RC? Where is RC coming from? Wait, let me
RC is
for myself.
coming from. So what we do want, I think, on a high level, whenever there's a new render cycle that's completed, we want to go through all the rendered components that we have in our dictionary. Those are the render component instances that have been returned to the user at some point during a test, right? The user have
Yeah,
done a
but this
render.
one, if
Yeah.
we have it, if you have the dictionary and we use even component like so maybe the only case I can imagine this wouldn't work is if we didn't update, but the update should have done anyway. Like the update is done before. That's update display async. That's literally the step before. So maybe this is just a safeguard, but then I would assume if we come in here, we missed something. We missed to update the dictionary. We missed to, have a safety net.
Yeah. No, I think the bigger problem, and originally there's probably some code in there that are there because of protections against. I think what really ended up being the culprit of some of the race conditions that were a few years back were because of, actually the problem was when you disposed the test context, it started cleaning up things, like it started disposing rendered components. But if the renderer, bUnit render, not bUnit, but the underlying laser renderer was still, it had async stuff going on. It was still rendering things, right?
Then you can
And
come into a state where
so
parts of it are disposed already.
yeah, some like so it was more about the ordering of things. Like we wanted to basically make sure that we are stopping all renders and then we start disposing and throwing out things, right? That was sort of what, because then all of a sudden you might have like we would see exceptions in fine components, and fine components got called when you had maybe a lambda in a wait for, right? That was trying to find something, and that was still registered and waiting to do its stuff, and then it saw a render and it started to, hey, something's rendering, so I'm gonna go find components and I'm gonna do things, and then it would blow up. Because the tree was like, there was race conditions between the disposing and triggering things. So that's probably a whole like some of the prototypes we did for V2 that is probably never gonna get out of see the light of day. Yeah, 21, right? It's been a while. It's like 4 years ago, trying to fix things. Yeah. And I don't think there's any recursions actually being able to, like, you look at the Git commit history, I don't think there's any recursions actually supposed to be able to happen. I think it was simply because I missed the whole point about things being disposed, right? And then, and so and the thing is, we only saw those problems when we were running on a slow machine where the test being disposed caused an issue. I can't remember. There was somebody who submitted an issue and saying, "Hey, this works," this code works if I don't dispose of the test context. And I was like, yeah. But yeah,
JavaScript is
so
getting threads. Doesn't JavaScript already has kind of threads? It
no.
has the
Well,
background worker and you have the shared memory in between. It's not the same though.
it's not a I think there's at least WebAssembly is getting threads in a sense that it's getting a proper threading model where you can share memory
Yeah,
direct, like
exactly.
you can share memory,
But
whereas
isn't that
right now
also then
with
done with the same? So right now at least there is, so Mono supports that, but it's basically also done via service workers, and they have
yes,
a
so
shared array buffer.
yeah, and it's not fast because basically you are putting stuff in array buffer and you pass it, like you have to serialize it, deserialize it, especially when you're going
Yeah, and lock it.
WebAssembly. Yeah, so it's not very concurrent. Yeah, well, I think as long as I don't think JavaScript is going to get threads as such. I think there's still going to be a single thread model in when you are in the browser in JavaScript. That's going to be the render loop and all of that. That's probably not. I would be surprised if that changes. But there's probably going to be something around WebAssembly and maybe service workers or background things where you could spin things up. But so it's going to be more like Windows Forms where you have a UI thread that is single threaded and you can have things going on at the same time in the background that can update.
Yeah.
But
And then you
yeah,
need a dispatcher to change something in the
yeah,
front
yeah,
end.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's probably a bunch of. Honestly, Stephen, I think the quick fix for now, for the issue at hand, might be just to say, hey, we solve the immediate exceptions, we ignore the pitfalls that are related to we ignore the pitfalls that are related to an older or retrieved render context, a render component, rendered component not being active anymore because it's been replaced, and just fix the problem that the user was having there. But I also think there are a whole bunch of things that can be simplified quite a bit in the renderer. But I think that might be worthwhile to just do that in V2. Yes. Like, because I'm fairly certain all the race conditions and all the whole rendered event type that are being created there, I think they are unnecessary now that we have the right order of things in terms of the wait for types and when things are disposed and things are handled, all of that. So, yeah, I think it's better to.
Yep. What do you do? Isn't that this one? Once I called my branch like that, there has to be a reason.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now,
no.
I would be fine with just having the quick fix where we say, hey, if this doesn't work, like if this isn't castable, we throw away the old one, dispose of that, perhaps even. I think if we dispose of it, it's probably going to be a better solution. All in all, dispose of the old render fragment and create a new one and save that. And just because it's not perfect, but it's better than what we have, where things just blow up, right?
True.
So I think I think that's a decent enough solution for the current bug in V1, and then there might be, a better solution for V2 that we could put on our board of things to look at when there's an extra week in the month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if, we run out of customers that will pay us to actually do proper work, then, that's extra free time. Right now, I'm lacking in that regard of free time, that is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if you find the first test that we wrote, or do we want to sleep on it? Should we pause and come back
Yeah, I
later?
would pause in any case
Yeah,
for me at
yeah,
least. It's getting
yeah.
rather late
Oh
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
in the
yeah. You're right. You're right.
not
Yeah,
evening. Oh, well, it is evening now.
yeah. We were actually planning to stop an hour ago, but when you get into it, like, doesn't matter if you're
Oh
tired if you have
well,
code to look at, right?
at least we have this thing. We have an idea, well, and so if we just have a small overview, I just created a pull request so that you for sure have no free time for anything else.
Oh man.
No, I'm just kidding. We have the API review is something, I don't know what
Yeah.
is this T-unit template, and I fixed also this one. Like I did this on V2.
Yeah.
Is this? Oh Jesus, this is already 6 months ago. As for me, it's like 2 months or so at
Yeah.
most.
Time
Jeez.
flies when you're not looking at things, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So I did something here as well, but that is for the future.
oh,
That
I'm
is for the
I'm
future.
yeah, I'm fine with all features like that, new features or semi bugs. Well, it's not really a bug. It's just a thing. I think if I'm fine with just having things going to V2, and
Yeah. Yeah, I guess our idea would be then, to have this one done at some point so that we can make a V2 release. I just found something earlier. I also found already some quirky behavior I didn't investigate. So I use V2 right now in my personal projects and they fail with funny messages or funny exceptions. I did not expect them
mhm.
because we just refactored some stuff. But yeah, we will see. We will see.
Yeah, yeah. We probably want to make sure we are stable on V2 soon. But yeah, let's. I am tempted to do the quick fix for the bug and just say, well, we'll make a better fix later or never if somebody actually asks for the
No.
functionality of having two different casts of the same object and keep them around. It might
Should I
just be that, hey,
okay.
this is not supported, right?
Should I push those tests somewhere or whatnot? This is helpful for you.
I think just put it on a feature branch. But I think the first test, the one that you haven't given a name yet, I think this is fine. I'm fine with stopping at test 23 and just leave, like, have the implementation as it is for 23 and making that pass. That's a fine enough solution for me. I don't think we need to do the extra work of
Ah,
custom
okay.
arrays and all of that. I think
That's
that
good.
that's a better solution. You want to double check though that the test renderer is in a state where it actually passes still.
No, everything is reverted. I didn't commit anything on that branch. That is the original version. So if
Okay,
you go
yeah.
to
So we just want
line,
to have the
let's
if
see.
it not being able to like do the remove again and then yeah, like do the first if we had.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Do rendered component is and then uh yeah. No, just
Was it?
no. Just
Ah,
render
no.
render component is yeah. I
I
think
render
Copilot was doing it for you.
component.
There you go.
Was it? No, now I don't want to have it anymore.
Yeah.
Typed compo. Okay, now.
Yeah. Otherwise, we
And
do the remove from the array of dictionary. Sorry, of
no,
component
now it doesn't do
ID.
anything.
Component ID. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think the first test that should pass, and I think that's a fine enough solution. Then it just means that the first fine component result is unusable now, and I'm fine with that.
Do I still
Honestly,
have it here? Oh
honestly, we
yes.
might want to do an extra. We want an extra thing. We want to do just to clean up. We want to go in before we do the remove. We want to say rendered
Get this and try
component
to.
dot dispose.
Yeah. Do we have it already? Yeah. Ah.
Yeah. So
But
we're not
this
just
one
cleaning up.
does not help. Or that will not call the internal dispose.
The internal
what I mean?
dispose of what?
So
It
I
should just
rendered fragment base has its own dispose. We agree.
yeah.
Dispose. But this will not call instance.dispose, does it?
I think so. It should.
It's obviously not in this one. Here, this one. Go away. On render? No, it does. No, it does
Should
not.
be fine.
But it doesn't do that. Just that you know, it does not dispose the component. So because otherwise we would have to check if instance. No, we can only do this
No,
in
no,
the.
I don't want to dispose the component. I want to dispose the rendered
Ah,
fragment, so that
I
we're cleaning up.
yeah.
So if people try to call stuff on it, it will say, "Hey, I've been disposed. Stop calling me." So
Okay, fair enough.
right. So
Fair
I think
enough.
that should be good. So we yeah, and so try running all the tests. If you remove the test that didn't have a name, test
Yes,
test
I have.
24, I believe it was.
Yes, I did.
So I think that's a fine solution. It's better. It's not perfect and handling all edge cases, but that's probably okay too, right? And then we can do a release of V1 and call it a weekend. Oh, did the test fail to build?
No. No.
No, I mean up in the Asia. No, not in the Asia. Sorry, the GitHubs.
Something flaky?
No, can't have that. It's probably just the I think all tests pass, right? There's no fails.
There's no failed.
Ugh, it's just I was about
Then
to
just
curse.
process completed with. Not today. It's too late. I'm very sorry, but I do not have a check now.
No, yeah, I probably just a rerun. It's just like random fail rather than .NET GitHub runner. It's so annoying. Yeah, it does do that.
Yeah, all green.
All
Does that
agreed.
work?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Fixed, but yeah. Good try. Do you have GitHub Copilot integration in Writer, by the way, or do you use the
Yeah.
built-in Writer thing?
No, I use Copilot. So as you can
Yeah.
see here.
Is
No, you
the
don't see
tooling?
it. My face is in the way.
Yeah.
It's almost the same, I would say. I don't use it so often.
I use Copilot quite a bit. But yeah. Oh yeah.
You also, I'm not sure if you have the agent mode though, like VS Code has.
Yeah, VS Code agent mode. That's cool. Yeah. So I don't use the explain a lot. I use like, I want to do this, fix things for me, or working with some random API I haven't worked with before. That usually
Okay, yeah.
helps a bit. But some like me and Scott Saber at the MVP summit, we sat down the last day and just tried to do some what was it? What's the word? Vibe coding.
Vibe
Where
coding,
we
to just-
because he has access to that really expensive one that's like 500 US a
Cursor?
month. Yeah, I think so. Cursor. We tried to use Cursor, one of those, to see if we can get it to basically take. We wanted it to do the find by a role. We need that. That's sort of the next big thing we need to add to the bUnit query thing, right?
What happens here? Let's see.
I guess it reviews the code.
Wow. I mean, let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. And we tried to, because basically the implementation is already there, right? For the testing from testing library in JavaScript, like all the implementation, and it's basically just AngularSharp API that you use instead of the browser API, which is more or less just the same, just with uppercase instead of camel cased. So, yeah, that's exactly what we want to assert. So yeah, it's not a nit. It's a yeah. So and we tried sort of in different ways, like trying to get it basically to spit out, take the tests that are test from the JavaScript versions of testing library and put them into bUnit and write some tests and then write some implementation that will do the whole. I'm gonna find things by the role in my document tree. And we tried for a few hours, and it didn't really result in anything. I think Scott tweeted about us using unnamed AI to help us write some code. It didn't succeed very much. We were probably also a bit too tired, but yeah.
You just have to use the agent mode and let's just run it over the course of a week, and then maybe you have something workable.
Well,
Who
so
knows?
we tried to use it. We tried to use an agent mode, and it spit out a
Okay.
whole bunch of things. But as soon as we actually tried to run the damn thing and have it do, and it did something, but it wasn't really what we wanted. Like it was, the quality wasn't like it wasn't exactly what we wanted. I think so. Yeah, we would probably have gotten further just by going about it by hand, like maybe reading the existing JavaScript bits, like the existing test over from their source, and basically having maybe an AI agent just convert, or AI just convert the JavaScript to type to C#, and then base it off of that. So yeah, that probably might have been a good idea to do. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was
Nice.
we missed you over there. It was good fun, just hanging out and chatting and coding a bit together.
I guess at this point I was. I'm not sure if I was already sleeping or short before.
Oh, probably it was like 1 p.m. Pacific time. So that's
Yeah, that would be 10, 11 here, so probably not. But yeah.
Oh, I texted you and you
Yeah, I
said no.
know.
I'm having drinks, so you weren't sleeping.
True. I could have
You
joined.
had- you
I'm
had-
not sure how
you
much
had-
of a help I would have been.
Would have been fun. I sounded like you had people over, so you were probably in better company anyway. Okay, Steven, let's call this stream a success. A couple of bugs
was.
fixed, and
was.
good chatting again. And
Yes,
thanks
and
everybody
then,
for hanging out. I see Frank, One Lion, Fuel Snable, and all that. Appreciate you guys. We will. And I don't want to say it, but we aim to
Yeah,
be back
that's-
next Friday.
Yes,
But let's
yes,
see.
that's
Let's see.
good. Maybe even with
That-
Scott. Let's see if he has.
Maybe even with Scott, if he has his voice back.
his
and all
voice is
that.
back. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As always, very nice hanging out with you, and wish you a beautiful weekend.
Yeah.
And then we see us maybe in 7 days. Hopefully. I would like
You
that.
too, Steven. Okay, everybody. Thanks for
Everyone,
coding with us.
Have a
Bye
nice one.
bye.